Hi guys! So today is May 27th, 2020, and I have an announcement to make. 61 days of pure Corona hell, and I am finally COVID free. I just got cleared. So I am a wee bit stoked that I am currently not a walking plague anymore. So, yay! Even though I am currently cleared of coronavirus, I am still currently dealing with a secondary infection caused by it, as well as finishing up the diabetic ketoacidosis and still figuring out my lung situation, as I still am having difficulty breathing, and it's much better than it was, but I still am having problems with my breathing. So the doctor believes there has been some lung damage done, and I am going further into that and doing more scans, and as well as going to be talking with all my doctors and specialists and running all the tests and scans just to check all my organs and my cells, and just make sure the rest of me is okay, because that was a very intense few months, and it put my body through pure hell. And when you fight your deathbed, your body, gets worn down. So I will be continuing working on strengthening my system, as well as strengthening my body, and just making sure everything's good. So that's what I'm currently going through. I'm treating the secondary infection with really strong antibiotics. Totally knocked me out over the weekend. But I'm doing a little better today. I'm feeling stronger today, and I'm just excited that each day I move towards full recovery and full healing. But it's very exciting because I am completely clear of COVID. And also, I developed antibodies towards the virus. So I have 3 out of the 4 strands of antibodies. So that means I hopefully will be protected when I go back to working in the medical field, which I'm very excited about. So yes, I just wanted to announce it and share with everyone that I am corona-free, and I am still processing it. Honestly, I don't really know how to process what just happened. That was honestly such a brutal and just horrific experience, mainly due to the breathing problems that arised. I've never had anything like that before happen to me or my lungs, and even to this day, almost day 70, and I still have a little bit of problem breathing. So I am currently doing specific things to build my lungs up, and I will be getting some scans on my chest and lungs to make sure that there isn't any permanent damage to my lungs, due to the fact that I'm still having issues breathing. But the infection is completely gone, and I am cleared, so yay! When the doctor cleared me, she told me that I am allowed to go back and integrate myself into society again, and honestly, I feel a little weird. I still feel like I'm like a plague walking around, even though I am allowed to slowly integrate myself back into society during this time. I do, however, have to wait just a little bit longer before I go back to work, because I work with high-risk patients and chemo patients, and because of this, I definitely want to make sure everything is good, I'm strengthened and done with my secondary infection as well as my ketones before I go back to work and work with patients. So with that being said, I'm so excited to just be here and alive after that, because there were a few moments that definitely concerned me. Like when my O stats went down in the 80s a few times, and it was just a little bit traumatic experiencing that. This experience has truly just changed me in different ways. I am definitely not the same person I was in March, and I am definitely planning on carrying over everything I've learned emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, everything that I've learned. I plan on just applying it to my life and just really cherishing every moment of life and just prioritizing things differently and experiencing this and being yet again on my deathbed a third time in my life. It has for sure opened my eyes and reminded me what is important in this life, and I'm definitely gonna cherish that and cherish every lesson that I learned in this experience, because what I just went through, I'm still processing. But what I just went through and experienced was an experience I've never gone through in my life up until now, and I'm just very grateful for all the love and all the support from friends, family, neighbors, random strangers. I have never felt so much love and so much support through this time in my entire life, and it really opened my eyes to show just how special every connection with every human being in my life truly is to me. And that's honestly the best thing that came out of this, was being able to develop deeper connections with people, even though I was in my studio, like isolated from people, social distanced. I felt like I grew in all the relationships around me, and I just am so excited to continue growing with everyone and really just blossoming. I am truly just so grateful for every person and individual who has helped me, has brought me groceries, has helped financially, has helped bring me random clothes, towels, toothbrush, water, just all types of things. And for all the people who've prayed for me, who stayed awake in the middle of the night multiple times in the beginning when I just could not breathe, and they just were praying on the other side of the phone. There's just so many different beautiful experiences that happened during this traumatic time that just really just touched my heart in ways that I'll just never forget and I'll always cherish. And I just am so filled with gratitude for each individual and the love that they gave to me, and the fact that it was so evident and so potent in people's actions and words and their love of how beautiful God's love is and God's goodness is through this. Like, He has provided for me through this entire experience, where I could just focus on my healing, not stress about things that are falling apart around me in my life, but really just focus on healing and doing what I need to do to survive. One of the verses that really just stayed in my mind throughout this entire time was, I don't remember the reference to it, but it was basically saying, like, if God can take care of the birds, you know, how much more precious are we as humans to God? And He'll provide for us like He provides for the birds and the animals of nature. And I just held on to that, and it's so cool because throughout this entire experience, a few people had brought up that verse, and it was already like in my head and heart during it. So I just know that was confirmation that God was going to take care of me through this time. So that was kind of cool. Even though it's sickness and it can cause complications, it can cause death, you can overcome whatever comes your way in life, and it is very important to approach life that way, or you'll always be in the victim mindset, you'll always be in a negative mindset, you'll always just be so vulnerable to negative thinking, to actually picking up illness. If you're just thinking like, oh, I'm gonna get it, I'm gonna die from it, like you're telling yourself, you're feeding yourself life or death. What happens starts in your mind, and yes, life is out of our control, and all we can do is just surrender and trust God of what actually happens in our life. But ultimately, we have the choice on how we approach these situations. And when I was working in the beginning of this pandemic in the medical field, I knew I was exposed to this virus, and I knew I may not survive from it because of my pre-existing conditions and the state that my body has been in this past year with all the stress and sickness. And even though I knew that and that was in the back of my mind, I decided to approach going on the front lines, working in the medical field with patients, with just a mindset of no matter what happens, I'll overcome it. No matter what happens, it's supposed to be that way. Like, all I can do now is, be the light and presence of love to each patient. And yes, I then contracted it, and there was a night where I really truly did break down and cry, with that fear of, am I gonna be alive in the next 2 weeks? Like, what's gonna happen to me, that it's already inside of my body? And that was very scary. But in that moment, after crying, even while crying, I surrendered to God. I put my headphones on, put my worship music on, and just cried and sang and prayed to God that everything was in his hands. And moving forward, my mindset will be in a faith mindset and a strength mindset rather than a defeated mindset. And that helped, because what I faced those coming days after was pure hell. And luckily, in a sense, I've been through Lyme disease, so I know what hell is like. So I had that strength to be able to endure through the last 70 plus days, but it was still a moment of complete surrender to God. And I'll get into other videos more about having chronic illness with corona and how chronic illness has actually helped me defeat corona, because my mind was already shaped and formed through my past illnesses on how to battle illness. Because no matter if it's a chronic disease, an acute disease, or some random pandemic virus, all of it needs to be approached the same. And when people approach illness in the same way of having like a victor's mindset and basically thinking like you're going into war, like prepare yourself, you will come out and overcome it, because you will have the strength and the endurance and the perseverance, as well as the motivation to be able to overcome whatever comes your way and whatever symptom you experience and whatever vitals you're looking at that basically declare no hope. You will be able to overcome any type of situation. Also, something that helped me overcome this is, while I was working and while I was quarantined and while I was diagnosed with corona, I did not watch the news. I did not feed into all the negative. And yes, I saw things on social media, but I wouldn't dwell on it and internalize that, because when you are currently fighting the virus that is killing thousands of people and you're watching body bags on the news while that thing is inside of you, that creates fear. And I did not want any fear inside of me while I was fighting this, so I avoided all of the negative news. And now that I'm finally watching some of it, like more in depth, not too in depth, but more in depth, it is humbling, and it is a different experience of knowing that I am someone who had the same exact strand of virus that another person had and they didn't make it, but I did. It's heavy, and I know I will be processing that the next few months, year. But all in all, I'm just really thankful that I am alive and I am recovering, and my body is dealing with the after effects and any damage that it caused, and that I will be fine. I will be okay. I will get to go back working in the medical field. I will get to pursue my bachelor's and go to medical school and become a doctor. Like, I will get my chance at life because I survived this, and it makes me speechless. And yeah, it makes me speechless. Something that also happens when you're fighting this type of illness is how it affects everyone around you. I'm pretty sure my mom didn't sleep in the last 70 days. She has been under so much stress, not knowing what exactly was going to happen with me, and same with friends and family, and it not only affects the person who's going through it, it affects everyone, and it's a very heavy situation. And I know a majority of people aren't exactly personally facing it with experiencing the virus themselves or even a family member, and so it's not as relatable, but I can tell you from the other side of this coin, of this corona coin, that it is very brutal and very serious, and this virus does affect everyone differently, and I did contract it, and it did go into a very, very severe case. So just from a person who has gone through corona and a severe case of it, with complications as well due to my chronic diseases of diabetes and asthma, and my POTS, I can tell you that, you know, this isn't going to affect everyone the same way. Just like me and different coworkers that contracted this, they all had different experiences than I did. I wasn't the first one to contract it, but I was the last to recover from it. And so each person is different. There was less severe cases, mild cases, and more severe cases, but in different ways. So each person, it's going to manifest differently in depending on the person's health, I believe. But there will be obviously a string of similar symptoms, similar experiences, because of the way this mechanism is designed, and how it manifests in the body. I can definitely tell you it was, whether it was naturally created or created in a lab or mutated in a lab, it was definitely out for a mission, and its mission is to kill the host. So take it seriously, because even if you are not immune compromised, you're perfectly healthy, or you had an asymptomatic case where it was just like a cold, there are people who aren't as lucky as you or me, and their bodies just won't survive it. And it's really just a different sort thinking about that, because like there are moments like that I cry and feel overwhelmed with the fact that so many people have lost their lives to this, and I'm sitting here talking to my camera on my porch with my dog sitting here alive and okay, and it's just weird. It's a very, very weird feeling. So with all of that being said, I just want to say thank you so much for all your prayers, all your support, comments, messages, texts, calls, everything. Just thank you so much for your love and your support through this, because that is something that truly helped me get through it and overcome it. I can just add this to my list of experiences, my disease resume. Lyme disease, check. Pancreas giving out, developing type 1 diabetes, check. Autoimmune disease, check. And now, corona.